All right, Scientology. Ready to go a little deeper. I know you are. We all are. Beyond the headlines and the celebrity stuff.
Yeah.
We got this great article. It's from the Spiritual Seek. It's going to lay it all out. Origins, the beliefs, all that jazz.
The whole deal. It's fascinating, really.
It is. And like the origins are wild.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking L. Ron Hubbard, like pulp fiction writer, right?
Right.
Turns his like sci-fi ideas into a whole system, like a real-life system.
It's amazing.
Can you imagine that?
It's quite a leap.
Going from like writing about aliens and stuff to saying you can free people's minds from their past trauma.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild, unexpected journey.
It is wild.
From science fiction to a global religion.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he claimed to have healed himself from injuries during World War II, using techniques that eventually became the foundation of Dianetics.
Right.
And then, of course, Dianetics morphed into Scientology.
Okay, so hold on. They believe they can completely like erase traumatic memories.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even work?
So that's where the concept of this thing called the reactive mind comes in.
Okay.
Think about a time that you reacted strongly to something.
Yeah.
Maybe way out of proportion to the actual event or whatever. Scientology would say that that's your reactive mind filled with these things called engrams, kind of taking over.
Okay, engrams.
Engrams.
All right, so what are engrams?
They're basically imprints of past traumas that mess with your thoughts and emotions.
So it's like those engrams are these little gremlins from your past causing trouble in the present.
Exactly.
And like auditing is supposed to get rid of those.
Exactly. Auditing is like their version of therapy.
Okay.
But instead of talking about your problems, they use this device called an e-meter to pinpoint.
Whoa. Wait, a device.
A device.
That's kind of sci-fi, isn't it?
It is. It measures these tiny electrical fluctuations on your skin, which they believe are linked to like emotional charges in your mind. And they think it helps them to pinpoint the engrams.
So you got this reactive mind causing trouble.
Right.
And then auditing comes in to like, work on that.
Right.
Okay, but Scientology isn't just about clearing away bad memories, right?
No.
Like there's a whole spiritual side to it.
Exactly.
Right.
They believe that you're not just a body and a mind, but you're also a thetan.
A thetan.
A thetan. It's an immortal spiritual being separate from the physical body.
All right, so these thetans, they're not just like hanging out passively on some cloud.
Right.
What are they actually doing on this journey?
Well, according to Scientology, thetans are essentially on a quest for survival.
For survival.
Yeah, they have this model called the 8 Dynamics, which lays out these different levels of survival, starting with the individual, then family, groups, all of humanity, all life forms, the physical universe, the spiritual realm, and then finally, infinity or God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this just like a fancy way of justifying any kind of behavior?
It's a good question.
By saying it's about survival.
Yeah, well, Scientology believes that understanding these dynamics helps you make choices that align with your spiritual growth. But it's definitely something that critics have questioned.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's all starting to sound like a blend of therapy, spirituality, and then you sprinkle in little science fiction on top of it.
Yeah.
Didn't Hubbard draw inspiration from all sorts of things when he created Scientology? Like what kind of things?
You see echoes of Freudian psychoanalysis in their ideas about the mind.
Oh, really?
As well as influences from Eastern religions with concepts like reincarnation.
Interesting.
There are even hints of Western esoteric traditions, with their emphasis on unlocking hidden potential.
It's like he took a bit of everything and created this like unique system.
Exactly.
All right, so tell me more about those Freudian connections.
Okay.
How does Scientology's approach to the mind compare to Freud's?
Well, both acknowledge the power of past traumas to influence, our present behavior.
Yeah.
But where Freud really focused on understanding and managing the subconscious, Hubbard believed that you could completely eliminate the negative impact of those traumas through auditing.
Okay.
So pretty radical departure.
So it's not just understanding your past, it's like erasing it.
Exactly.
And what about those Eastern influences? How does Scientology's view on reincarnation differ from like traditional Eastern beliefs?
Well, while both believe in the cycle of, birth, death, and rebirth, Scientology really emphasizes this personal empowerment through auditing to free the thetan,
Right.
as opposed to focusing on the concept of karma or surrendering to a higher power.
It sounds like Scientology, like, takes inspiration from various sources.
Yeah,
But then it puts its own spin on things.
absolutely.
Like, all right, so it's not just about individual growth, right?
Right.
They have a whole organized structure, too.
Yes, and that's where things get a bit more complex, perhaps.
Oh, okay. Tell me about that.
So they have this hierarchical structure
Uh-huh.
with different levels of training,
Okay.
kind of like secret levels in a video game.
Okay.
You have to master the earlier ones before you can unlock, the really, really wild parts of the story.
Okay, we need to unpack that.
Okay.
Tell me about those levels. Like,
Yeah.
what do they involve?
They start with achieving this state of clear through auditing, which is like reaching a baseline of mental and emotional clarity.
Okay.
Then you move on to the operating thetan levels,
Okay.
or OT levels,
OT?
which are shrouded in secrecy. Those delve into much more complex spiritual concepts.
And supposedly reveal some pretty wild narratives.
Ooh, intriguing.
Yeah.
And a little secretive.
A little bit, yeah.
Makes you kind of wonder what they're hiding.
Yeah.
So you start with like self-improvement, then you move on to these cosmic mysteries.
That's right.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Yeah.
And that blend of self-help, spirituality, and a bit of secrecy has contributed to both Scientology's appeal and its controversies, for sure.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like a system with its own language,
It is.
its own practices, even its own version of like history.
You put it perfectly.
Wow.
And understanding that system is key to understanding Scientology as a whole. Welcome back. All right, so we've explored, the origins and some of the core beliefs.
Right.
But Scientology hasn't stayed frozen in time, right?
Oh, no.
It's evolved, grown, changed over the years.
It has. It's been quite a ride, actually, from
Yeah.
its early days under Hubbard to its current form under Miscavige.
Okay, so let's start with the Hubbard era.
Okay.
What were some of the key developments during that period?
Well, under Hubbard's leadership, Scientology expanded rapidly.
Okay.
New churches or orgs, as they call them, popping up all over the world.
It went global pretty quickly.
It did, yeah.
Wow.
Hubbard was constantly writing new materials, delivering lectures, developing training programs. He was really building an entire system.
And that included introducing those advanced teachings we talked about earlier?
Yes.
The OT levels?
The mysterious OT levels.
Yeah.
Exactly. As more and more people reached the state of clear,
Yeah.
Hubbard created these higher levels of spiritual training, promising even greater awareness and abilities.
So Scientology was becoming more complex.
Yes.
Both in terms of its reach and its teachings.
Yes. And with that complexity, of course, came a need for structure, right?
Right.
So Hubbard established this hierarchical system within the church with specialized groups like the Sea Organization or Sea Org, responsible for managing, its operations.
The Sea Org. They're like the hardcore devotees, right?
Let's say that, yes.
The ones who dedicate their lives to Scientology.
That's right. They play a crucial role in maintaining the church's structure and ensuring that Hubbard's vision is carried out.
It sounds like things were moving full steam ahead.
They were, but
I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing.
you're right. As Scientology gained visibility, it started attracting attention, and not all of it was positive.
Right, because those claims about, like, curing illnesses
Yes.
and erasing traumatic memories
All right.
probably raised some eyebrows, especially in the medical community.
Yeah, there was definitely pushback from medical professionals and psychologists. They questioned the scientific validity of Dianetics and auditing, arguing that there's no real evidence to support their claims.
And I bet this secrecy surrounding those OT levels didn't help matters.
Not at all.
It's like the more you try to hide something,
Right.
the more people want to know about it.
Exactly. And that secrecy fueled suspicion and led to some serious legal challenges.
Yeah.
Governments and organizations began, scrutinizing Scientology, questioning its legitimacy as a religion.
It sounds like Scientology was facing some serious headwinds during this period of expansion.
It was, but Hubbard was a pretty savvy operator, I'd say. He fought back against these challenges using legal and financial strategies to protect the church.
So he was more than just a spiritual leader.
Oh, yeah.
He was also a businessman and a strategist,
Absolutely.
building an organization as much as a belief system.
Exactly. He understood that to survive, Scientology needed to navigate the real world, not just the spiritual one.
Right. Okay, so we've got this picture of rapid expansion, new teachings, a growing structure,
Right.
but also increasing criticism and legal battles.
Yes.
Sounds like a pretty intense time.
Yeah, it was. And then in 1986, Hubbard passed away.
Okay.
This marked a major turning point for Scientology.
Yeah.
Leadership transitioned to David Miscavige, a longtime member of the Sea Org.
A new era begins.
Right.
What was Miscavige's approach?
Okay.
Did he continue on the same path as Hubbard?
He definitely put his own stamp on things, yeah.
Okay.
One of his first major achievements was securing tax-exempt status for Scientology in the United States.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I bet that was a major victory for them.
It was. After years of battling the IRS, Scientology was finally recognized as a religion under U.S. law in 1993.
Wow.
This gave them a lot more legitimacy and financial freedom, for sure.
That makes sense. What else did Miscavige focus on?
He continued the push for expansion, but with a different approach. Instead of just opening new orgs, he emphasized creating what are called ideal orgs.
Ideal orgs, what makes them different?
These are large, often lavishly renovated facilities located in prominent urban areas.
Gotcha.
Think prime real estate, impressive architecture, the whole 9 yards.
So it's about making a statement.
Yes.
Showing that Scientology is successful and influential.
Exactly. It's a way to project a certain image and attract new members. Think of it like a rebranding effort.
A pretty bold move.
Yeah.
Especially considering all the controversy that's still swirling around Scientology.
Right.
It's like they're saying, we're here to stay and we're not hiding.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Miscavige has also been very strategic about using technology to spread Scientology's message.
So they're embracing the digital age.
Absolutely. They've developed sophisticated websites and online platforms where people can learn about Scientology, take courses, connect with other members. They even have their own media production facilities.
Wow.
Creating documentaries and TV shows to promote their beliefs.
It's like they're bypassing traditional media, which has often been critical of them.
Right.
And creating their own channels to control the narrative.
Exactly. It's a smart move in today's world where so much information is consumed online.
Okay, so we've got this shift from rapid expansion under Hubbard to a more strategic approach under Miscavige, focusing on image, technology, and controlling the message.
Right. But despite these efforts, Scientology hasn't been able to escape the controversy that has dogged it for decades.
In fact, you could argue that the internet has actually amplified those controversies.
It's true.
Giving a voice to people who were previously silenced.
That's a great point. Former members now have platforms to share their experiences.
Right.
And some of those experiences have been pretty disturbing.
We're talking about allegations of abuse.
Yes.
Exploitation, even forced labor within the church.
Yes, these are serious accusations that have been made by multiple former members.
Right.
And investigated by journalists and filmmakers.
Yeah.
They paint a very different picture from the one Scientology presents.
And those accusations have led to more legal battles.
Absolutely. There have been numerous lawsuits filed against Scientology.
Okay.
Some involving claims of human trafficking and wrongful death.
Wow.
These legal challenges have kept Scientology in the spotlight and raised questions about its practices and accountability.
It sounds like a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
Accusations, denials, lawsuits, and more accusations.
It's
a lot to process.
It is. And it's important to remember that these controversies often involve disputed accounts and allegations.
Of course.
Scientology vehemently denies any wrongdoing.
Right.
But the sheer volume of accusations is hard to ignore.
Okay, so we've got this ongoing battle between Scientology and its critics.
Yes.
Playing out in the courts, in the media, and online.
Right. And amidst all of this, there's another factor at play.
Okay.
Celebrity.
Ah, yes, the celebrities.
Right.
Scientology and celebrities, it's a long story.
It is a long story.
I mean, who could forget Tom Cruise jumping on Oprah's couch?
Oh, yeah.
Was that just him being enthusiastic about Scientology?
Well, you know, Scientology has always been associated with famous faces.
Yeah.
And those celebrity endorsements have brought both visibility and scrutiny.
Right. On the one hand, having someone like Tom Cruise as a spokesperson can give Scientology a certain level of, like, coolness.
Right.
Seem more mainstream.
Exactly. It attracts attention and piques people's curiosity.
Yeah, but on the other hand, when those celebrities face, personal scandals or controversies, it can reflect negatively on the church.
It can, yeah.
It's a gamble for both sides.
That's the downside.
Yeah, the double-edged sword for sure.
It is.
But regardless of celebrity involvement, Scientology has also had a lot of media exposure.
Yes.
And not always in a flattering light.
You're right. There's been a wave of investigative journalism.
Books, documentaries, and even TV series dedicated to exposing what they see as the darker side of Scientology.
And those productions haven't just focused on, like, celebrity gossip.
No.
They've delved into serious allegations, abuse, financial exploitation, even forced labor within the church.
Exactly. And these exposés have prompted calls for investigations and raised questions about Scientology's practices, particularly within its Sea Org program.
It seems like those controversies aren't going away anytime soon.
They're not.
And they've had a tangible impact.
Yes.
Despite the church's claims of growing membership.
Right.
Independent surveys suggest that Scientology might actually be experiencing a decline in numbers.
That's right.
Really? That's surprising, considering their efforts to expand.
It is surprising to build those impressive ideal orgs and use technology to reach more people.
It is. But there are a number of factors that could be contributing to this decline.
Okay.
The negative publicity from those exposés and lawsuits has definitely played a role.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that the costs associated with advancing through the OT levels can be pretty steep.
They can be very steep. That's another factor. Those costs can be a barrier for some people.
Right.
And it reinforces the criticism that Scientology is more about making money than spiritual growth.
It can make it seem like spiritual enlightenment has a price tag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the growing number of former members who are speaking out against the church, sharing their negative experiences and urging others to stay away.
So it sounds like Scientology is facing challenges on multiple fronts.
That is.
Legal battles, declining membership, negative media coverage, and vocal critics online.
That's a good summary. It's definitely a pivotal time for Scientology.
So where does that leave us?
Okay.
What's the future hold for this controversial organization?
Oh, that's a question with no easy answers.
Yeah.
Scientology has shown resilience in the past. Weathering storms, adapting to challenges.
They've certainly been through a lot.
They have, but the landscape is changing.
Yeah.
The internet and social media have created a new dynamic, making it harder to control the narrative and silence dissent.
Like, information wants to be free.
It does.
And it's finding ways to break through those barriers of secrecy.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And with former members finding their voices and the media continuing to investigate, Scientology is likely to face ongoing scrutiny and pressure to address those allegations of abuse and exploitation.
It sounds like the coming years will be crucial for Scientology.
They will be.
Will they be able to adapt to this changing landscape?
Right.
Or will they double down on their current approach?
It's a fascinating question.
It is.
And it's one that we'll continue to explore as we delve into the controversies surrounding Scientology in our next installment.
That's right. Because no deep dive into Scientology would be complete without taking a closer look at those controversies and their impact on the church and its members. All right, welcome back. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From L. Ron Hubbard's, Pulp Fiction days to the rise of ideal orgs and the power of celebrity and all this.
Absolutely.
But now we got to face it.
Yeah.
You can't talk about Scientology without addressing the controversies.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole other side to this story. One that's often whispered about, debated, and even fiercely denied.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Okay.
We're going to unpack those criticisms, those allegations, the things that make people kind of raise an eyebrow and say, wait, really?
It's important to be clear, though.
Yeah.
We're talking about allegations here.
Of course.
Things that Scientology firmly denies.
Right.
Our goal is to present a balanced view, looking at both the claims and the rebuttals.
Exactly. We're not here to take sides.
Yeah.
We're just laying out the information and letting you, the listener, draw your own conclusion.
Exactly.
So let's start with one of the biggest criticisms leveled at Scientology. The lack of scientific backing for its methods.
Okay.
Right.
Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Dianetics and auditing have been challenged by medical professionals and scientists.
Of course.
Critics argue there's no real evidence to support those claims of mental and emotional healing through auditing.
It's like that age-old debate.
It is.
Between traditional medicine and alternative therapies.
Right.
Where does Scientology fit on that?
That's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Scientology positions itself as a unique system, separate from both conventional medicine and psychotherapy.
Okay.
But that puts them in a tough spot because they're making big claims about healing without the scientific rigor that people expect.
And that leads to some pretty serious concerns.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
Like people are choosing auditing over proven medical treatments.
Right.
That could have real consequences.
Exactly.
Okay.
Critics worry that people might be delaying or foregoing necessary medical care because they believe that auditing can cure them.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about things like mental health or serious illnesses, that's a huge risk.
Okay, so there's a real clash between Scientology's approach and the scientific community.
Right.
What other criticisms do they face?
Well, perhaps the most serious are the allegations of abuse and exploitation within the organization.
This is where things get really heavy.
Yes.
We're talking about claims of forced labor, harassment, even physical and emotional abuse, right?
Yes. These are some of the things that former members have alleged.
Yeah.
And some of these accounts have been truly disturbing.
Right.
They paint a picture of an organization that controls its members through intimidation, coercion. Wow.
And even violence.
It's a stark contrast to the image of self-improvement and spiritual liberation that Scientology promotes.
Of course, the church has consistently and vehemently denied these allegations.
Of course.
Dismissing them as fabrications by disgruntled ex-members or attempts to damage their reputation.
But these accusations haven't come from, like, just a handful of people, right?
There have been multiple accounts, high-profile defections, and in-depth investigations that have brought these allegations to light.
And those accounts have raised serious concerns
They have.
about the ethical practices within Scientology,
Yes.
especially within the Sea Org,
Right.
which is known for its demanding lifestyle and strict adherence to Scientology's principles.
Exactly, and those allegations haven't just stayed within the walls of the church.
Right. They've sparked lawsuits.
They have.
And legal battles.
Absolutely. There have been numerous lawsuits filed against Scientology.
Some involving claims of forced labor, human trafficking, and even wrongful death.
It's important to note that not all of these lawsuits have been successful.
Right.
And the legal landscape is complex.
It is.
But the fact that these allegations exist and continue to surface is significant.
Absolutely.
It suggests a pattern of behavior that warrants scrutiny.
Exactly. And these legal battles, along with the testimonies of former members, have contributed to this growing perception of Scientology as an organization that prioritizes control and secrecy over the well-being of its members.
Okay, so we've got the science debate.
Yeah.
We got the allegations of abuse, the legal challenges.
Right.
What other areas of controversy are there?
Well, there's the issue of financial transparency, or rather the lack thereof. Critics argue that Scientology is more focused on making money than on spiritual growth.
That's a pretty serious accusation.
It is.
What evidence is there to support that?
Well, critics point to the high costs associated with Scientology's courses and auditing. They say those fees create a financial barrier to entry and potentially exploit vulnerable individuals seeking spiritual guidance.
Yeah, remember those OT levels?
Yes.
The higher you fly and the more expensive it gets.
Exactly. It's like spiritual enlightenment has a price tag.
Right.
And while the church maintains that its fees are necessary to cover operational costs and ensure the quality of its services, critics argue that they're excessive and designed to maximize profits.
So there's this perception of Scientology as more of a business enterprise than a true religion?
That's right. And that perception has been fueled by the accounts of former members who describe feeling pressured to donate money or purchase expensive courses.
You've got the science debate, the allegations of abuse, the legal challenges, and the financial scrutiny. It's a lot to take in. And it's no wonder that Scientology's public image has suffered over the years.
It has. And despite their efforts to, modernize and present themselves as a progressive organization, those controversies continue to cast a shadow over Scientology.
And it's not just like traditional media outlets that are critical.
Right.
The internet and social media have given former members and critics a powerful platform.
They have.
To share their stories and challenge Scientology's narrative.
That's a huge factor. In the past, Scientology had more control over its image, but now information spreads so quickly online.
Yeah.
And it's much harder to suppress dissenting voices.
It's like the saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant.
It is.
The more information comes out,
right,
the more difficult it becomes for organizations to hide their practices or silence their critics.
Exactly. And that increased transparency has definitely contributed to the changing public perception of Scientology.
So where does all this leave us?
Okay.
We've explored the origins, the beliefs, the evolution,
and
the controversies of Scientology. What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is that Scientology is a complex and multifaceted phenomenon.
That is.
It's a system that blends self-help, spirituality, and even science fiction, right?
Yeah.
It has a devoted following and has achieved global reach, but it also faces persistent and serious criticisms.
It's a story of successes and struggles.
It is.
Of fervent belief and deep skepticism. And ultimately, it's up to each individual to decide what they think about Scientology. Weighing the evidence, the testimonies, the different perspectives.
Yeah, absolutely. Our goal in this deep dive wasn't to give you all the answers or tell you what to believe. It was to equip you with the knowledge and the context to form your own informed opinions.
And as with any complex topic, there's always more to learn.
Right.
More perspectives to consider and more questions to ask.
That's right. If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to keep researching, keep questioning, and keep seeking out diverse viewpoints.
Because that's what the deep dive is all about.
That's it.
It's exploring complex topics, challenging assumptions, and encouraging critical thinking.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.